Hello, my name is Salma and welcome to my channel. If you would like to book a personal reading, you can contact me at tattoosandtarot@gmail.com, or you can look up my personal website, which is tattoosandtarot.com, and you can see what other services I have to offer with regard to readings. In any case, I hope you enjoy your monthly Taroscope reading, and any questions that you have, feel free to message me. All right, have a good one. Bye. Hello, fellow Aquarians. Here is your July 2017 reading. And if you watched some of my other videos, you might have heard me mention that I, too, am an Aquarius sun. And what is going on with Aquarius? So I'm going to do my best to do this reading without really also picking up on what's been going on in my own personal life, which has had a lot to do with, for me personally, has had a lot to do with reconciling my setting up like my career with work that I have to do to make money. So that's kind of what's been going on for me. And when I was sitting and sort of reflecting and holding the cards and thinking about Aquarius and like what messages wanted to come through for Aquarius, I got this sense of like overthinking things, of just like being overloaded mentally and thinking way too much about like the multiple sides of a situation, and that in essence kind of driving you crazy, so to speak. So that's one of the things that I picked up on, and sort of, overthinking and ruminating about things. And so, let me go over what's happening for you astrologically. So Venus is in Gemini, which is great for us, right, when it comes to like romance and fun, and because Gemini being like our sister sign, right, like another fellow air sign. So Venus being there, and then also Venus being the one of ruling planet of Libra, right? So definitely feeling, and Gemini being a sign of, a lot of communication happening, a lot of socialization, going out, having fun, meeting new people, sharing of information, things kind of, things being kind of fast and fluttery, right? The butterfly, thinking of the social butterfly is Gemini. And with Venus being there, and being in the fifth house, that, things regarding, creativity and, romance and the fun parts of romance and love and partnership, right? And also because it's in Gemini, not necessarily being, being kind of like fleeting interactions that kind of come and go, and not really maybe being, the best sort of placement for long-term serious relationships. This is a very light-hearted kind of placement. Venus, Gemini, fifth house, very, light-hearted kind of energies. Venus can kind of shift, right, depending on where she is. But Gemini and the fifth house being very light-hearted, playful energies. Whereas, when we're thinking more in terms of solid partnership, it's more of seventh house, even eighth house, right? Like that those deeper, intense connections that kind of dig at uncomfortable places. Whereas fifth house can kind of be surfacey, right? Kind of just lives on the surface, and it's fun and it's playful, but it doesn't really get much deeper than those aspects. And so with that happening, and then opposing that, we have Saturn in the 11th house in Sagittarius, right? So, wherever Sagittarius is, or whenever I think of Sagittarius, 9th house, Jupiter, I think of where do I need to expand? Where do I need to grow? And where do I need to, learn more, have a higher understanding of something, and not just knowledge for knowledge's sake, like not just this kind of accumulating knowledge, kind of like a Gemini, right? Like accumulating knowledge is to accumulate knowledge. But Sagittarius then wants to take that knowledge and actually put it into practical application. And wants to take philosophy and kind of figure out, well, where does it fit within my everyday lived experience, and how can I expand upon this in my lived experience, right? So Saturn being in the 11th house, and it's been in our 11th house, you know, for a while now. And so that, you know, causing us and forcing us to prune, to refine, to define, to really sort of reorganize and scrutinize our relationships, in terms of friendships, our group memberships, how we network with people, how, you know, like our hopes and our dreams and our wishes, sort of like, but for me particularly, it really spoke to friendships, right? Like where do I need to evolve and develop, and where do I need to kind of do some refining and some growth with regard to friendships, and like how I show up in friendships. Am I choosing to be part of groups or friendships or, you know, social organizations that really speak to my highest good? Or am I kind of, you know, selling myself short? Am I showing up in my relationships, especially being an Aquarius? You know, there is, and I've heard a lot of other card readers on YouTube and and even, you know, my best friend who's a Leo, I'll go a couple of weeks without speaking to her, and then I'll finally answer a phone call, and she'll be like, the Aquarius, you're disappearing act, like, and she gets it, right? Because she understands, right? Being a Leo and being on the opposite side of the same coin, right? Like there's this understanding, right, that she and I have with one another. But yeah, there is this disappearing act that I don't and other Aquarians don't mean to do, to hurt, to be hurtful, but we just get caught up in what is happening right here in front of us, and we get caught up in, you know, we get caught up in the bigger picture of life, that sometimes the smaller things, like, you know, like one-on-one friendships and relationships, sometimes those we lose sight of those in the name of trying to see what we're doing on a grander scale. And it's also just this, you know, I want to be alone right now, and there's nothing wrong with me wanting to be alone and seeing nothing wrong in the disappearing act itself, right? So when there is this opposition between the 5th house and the 11th house, you know, and the 5th house not only being romance and creativity, but being the house that rules Leo, right? Like being the house that is all about being front and center and allowing yourself to be center of attention, allowing yourself to be hit with the glow of the sun, and for others to see that, and for others to see the beauty in your creative process, and being, you know, being the actor standing on stage, the performer, right? And when, you know, there's an opposition between the 5th and the 11th house representing us, right? Representing Aquarius, and that representing humanitarian issues, right? You know, wanting to help for the greater good, like doing work not so that we can have a spotlight, but so that, you know, we can do this work in the name of helping other people. You know, how do I not stand out in group dynamics? How can I be one with the masses? But at the same time, right, like I said, with like Leo and Aquarius being opposites, there still is this like Leo, you know, the humanitarianism in Leo comes forth in the warmth and the desire to want to, you know, help others, and to show and to, you know, dress others in compliments, right? Like Leos, just as much as they want to receive the recognition, they're willing to return that tenfold to whoever, their friends, their family. You know, Leos in times in my life where I really have been kind of down and out and not feeling too well, Leos kind of have helped me, nurse me back to, you know, emotional, you know, well-being. And even with Aquarius, right, even though there's this desire to want to, you know, see things for the good of all and to not stand out. Aquarians can't help but walk to the beat of their own drum, right? Aquarians can't help but still kind of be different and be odd and be weird, which in a sense, inadvertently, anyway, gives us the spotlight in a lot of ways. It's like, you know, whether it's I'm getting the spotlight for being the weirdo or for being the person who, you know, you tell me to do something, I'm going to do the opposite, right? So that's just kind of, you know, one way in which how even though in our opposing sign, they're even the aspects of our opposing sign find their way to kind of creep in through to us and to kind of shine through us. And so when you have the 5th and the 11th house opposing one another, you know, there may be this challenge and this very, you know, Venusian, this Venus desire and this, you know, lighthearted, like, you know, like lightheartedness of like wanting, and also Gemini, right? Like kind of being a little, you know, I don't want to say surfacey, but things are a bit fleeting, right? Things don't go so deep with Gemini. Things don't go to the core. Things, you know, kind of are fast and moving, right? So with Venus there and Gemini in the 5th house, it's kind of like, you know, there's this very surfacey, maybe fleeting, kind of, I don't want to say superficial, but attractive desire, right? Nonetheless, to want to be in the spotlight and to want to like, you know, show the world what you got and do, but then also with with Saturn being in the 11th house, right? There is still, and in Sagittarius, right? Which can be a bit more of a serious sign, can be a bit more of a, you know, there's some more, you know, the knowledge that was collected in Gemini now wants to be delved into deeper with Sagittarius, right? And understood on a philosophical and spiritual level also. And so with Saturn being in the 11th house, you know, some definite reevaluation of like, well, how do I fit in with the group and how do I allow myself to be a member of the group without wanting to stand out, without this desire to stand out? Like, how do I navigate these two, you know, desires of like wanting to be this unique Aquarian who stands out, but then still remembering, right, my 11th house home of groups and friendships and memberships and humanitarianism and doing things for the sake of other people. And there's this kind of like overthinking of like, oh my God, like, you know, I want to do this, but I have this responsibility over here. And as much as Aquarius is, you know, kind of revolutionary and rebellious in the way that we do things, there is also, we have these very, very strong, you know, core values of how things need to be done and, you know, even how people should be treated, the humanitarian, right? Like how people should be treated. And so that is, so even though we're having a good time, right, in the 5th house, there still is this, you know, how am I somewhat apart from all of this fun? How do I not become so attached, right, to the fun that's being had? And how do I still remember that there are bigger things, right, that like, why so serious, right? Like, there are bigger things that I have to get done, but I want to have fun kind of mentality. And so that is what's going on with Aquarius in the astrological sky. And then also, you know, coming up in August is going to be a big month for us because, you know, the sun's going to be in Leo, which is our opposing sign, right? And then also there's going to be an eclipse, I believe, either for the new moon or the full moon. But there's going to be a lot happening. We're having a full moon coming up in Aquarius, in Leo. So there's a lot that's going to be happening for us in August. But yeah, one of the definite feelings that I got before I started the video was this feeling of like, you know, feeling like there's a lot going on mentally, and there's a lot that we're thinking about, and there's a lot that you know, Aquarians, I gotta stop trying to say we, right? Because I'm trying to do this reading not for myself, but for you other Aquarians out there. So there's a lot that y'all are trying to balance out and negotiate, and you may just have to cut something out. So let's see what's gonna happen let's see what's going on for Aquarius July 2017. Aquarius July 2017. Aquarius. That Venus in Gemini, right? Judgment. Okay. Okay. This might turn into a relationship reading. Yeah, I've got the sun, right? That sun moving into Leo as the month goes. Sorry, this is taking a while. Aquarians, we went through a lot last year. We went through a lot last year, you know. I don't know if there are any other Aquarians that feel the way that I feel, but I feel like this year's, you know, there were some hard lessons that had to get learned last year, especially regarding relationships, and especially regarding, you know, yeah, a lot had to be learned. And okay. Page of Wands at the bottom. So yeah, new inspirations coming in, new ideas coming in about how to spread your own creativity. New ideas definitely flowing in about creative work, you know, artistic work. If any of you are artists out there, you know, definitely. With Venus and Gemini in the 5th house, also an oncoming of creative ideas and finding a way to implement those, finding a way to work on those and put those into the world, right? So here's your spread. Sorry, I have a bunch of stuff like in the camera. So we have the 2 of Cups, Judgment, the Sun, 5 of Pentacles, 3 of Wands, 5 of Wands, the Devil, 4 of Swords, and the Fool. All right, so let's get started. And I'll try not to ramble too much as I have in other videos thus far. So we have the 2 of Cups here. And, you know, like I said before, last year was a really, really rough period for a lot of Aquarians regarding relationships and regarding, you know, the wanting, right? Like the wanting to manifest, right? This 2 of Cups kind of connection. But there just was there was a lot of blockages. There was a lot of stuff in the way. And for a lot of Aquarians, what was going on, because I followed the Aquarian videos very carefully, even if they didn't resonate with me, I still was like very much like, what's going on with a lot of Aquarians right now? And not just myself, but, you know, there was a lot of healing, right? This is Archangel Raphael here. And this is the universal symbol for medicine. I don't know the name of it. I should probably look up the name of it. But the universal symbol of medicine. So it's like there was some healing that needed to happen with regard to how we related in one-on-one partnerships. And that one-on-one partnerships also brought some stuff out in us that then led to us having to do some healing on our own. And that, you know, the Judgment card as recognition that, you know, the Judgment card of you know, these relationships, right? Like whatever relationship this is bringing out, and it is, and this could be a relation, and I really feel that this is a relationship that you're reflecting on, that this is a past partner that maybe things didn't work out, and you're kind of reflecting on like, well, what was my part? What were the aspects of my behavior that I could have done differently? Or maybe this is a current relationship that you're in, or, you know, this could also represent a relationship reconciliation, like a past relationship becoming reconciled, or a past relationship, resurfacing and the truth coming out, right? The truth of things being illuminated, the truth of things having the sun shown on it and being the center of attention, right? And I'll get to the sun in a minute because I'm also feeling a different kind of relationship with regard to the Five of Pentacles. But, you know, I definitely sense that this represents an actual physical relationship, and it could be past, present, or future, or, you know, past or present, so to speak. And it's a relationship that really brought out, it was a significant relationship for you, and it brought out parts of yourself that needed to be healed, that needed to receive some kind of that needed to have the angels blow its horn down upon it, right? There were aspects that this relationship brought up that needed, you know, you needed to recognize about yourself and to, you know, not judge yourself for, but to get real with yourself about. There are parts of you that this relationship, that these relationship problems, that this you know needed to be brought out, right? I'm gonna do a clarifier for the Two of Cups. Actually, can I get a clarifier for the Two of Cups, please? Why is the Two of Cups here? Last shuffle. Why is the Two of Cups here? Yeah, right. So there's the Two of Wands. So the Two of Wands, right? And the Two of Wands and clarification with the Two of Cups, for me, represents, you know, someone's own, your own, what's the word? Like the figure in this, maybe talk about, oh, the word will come to me. So the figure in this Two of Wands, right? He has one wand back here and one wand here in front of him, and he's got the world in his hands. But it's like, he's not, like, this is not somebody who, you know, the dilemma or the, you know, your own inability to commit to moving forward, and how that manifested itself in your own relationships, right? Like, you know, for me, relationships are huge mirroring tools that you can use. You know, also for me personally, in my chart, my Chiron is in my 7th house. So a lot of my healing and my wounding takes place in relationships and intimate relationships. So, you know, relationships oftentimes for me can be a huge mirror of behaviors that I'm engaging in. Like if a partner's doing something that I don't like, sometimes I have to actually look at myself and say, okay, well, what is it about? Like if I'm with somebody who's emotionally unavailable, well, what does that say about my own emotional unavailability in my own personal life, right? So what this to me means is that they're, you know, while this person has a world in their hands and they're looking forward, there's still this wand back here. So, and he hasn't moved. He hasn't taken any steps forward yet. He hasn't taken any, he's not fully committed to what's here on this side because there's still this thing here, right? And so as much as there is this desire for a committed relationship there still is this kind of contradiction or this, lack of commitment within you to commit to the things within your own plans to move forward, right? And if I'm not committed to my own life, how can I expect someone then to come and to commit to me? And that being one of the biggest realizations, especially for Aquarians, we're not as detached as people think that we are, right? We have feelings. We just have a different way of processing them. And we have a way of kind of navigating our emotions. And this also depends on your moon sign. Like my moon is in Cancer. So I'm an Aquarius who's also very sensitive. Whereas I've met Aquarians who are sensitive too, but have a different way of showing it. And so, with the Judgment card being here, the recognition that, if there's something that I'm asking for, right? If there's something that I'm praying for, if there's something, well, how am I embodying that in my own personal life, And so that was, I feel like this story right here had its own thing to say, and now let's move into the Sun. So now we have the Sun, right? And this, the Strength card, yes, is a Leo card, but I also see the Sun as being like the total Leo card. It's the Sun. And it's very fifth house, right? Like this kid, he's naked. He or she or they are naked on this horse, and there's all these vibrant colors, and the sun is shining upon this child, right? The sun is shining upon this person. And this person is widely accepting the sun's spotlight. This person is widely like, yes, I'm totally in acceptance of the spotlight. I am totally in acceptance of all the love and attention and the admiration and the validation that I'm receiving from the sun right now, right? Very Leo. But then next to it, we have this Five of Pentacles, right? Which the Five of Pentacles to me, like, yes, in a relationship reading definitely can relate to, a down and out relationship, people feeling left out in relationships. But to me, it also it's two people, right? It's two people who are in rags. They're both injured. And it's like, to me, with regard to Aquarius, right? It also reads to me as like, and it can also be a card of codependency, but it's also a card of walking with the underdog and riding with the underdog and not allowing, right? Like neither one of these figures are really bringing much of their attention to this Five of Pentacles, right? Which in essence, right, like kind of reminds me of these yellow discs remind me of the sun, remind me of the spotlight of the sun, remind me of the warmth of the sun, remind me of the admiration and the attention that the sun can give you, right? So it's like these two people in this card aren't really paying much attention to the spotlight, aren't really paying much attention to the warmth and the light that's being generated from these discs, these sun-like discs, right? These pentacles. And it's kind of a card of like, well, if you're kind of out in the snow and you're cold, then I'll be too, right? And it speaks to me kind of like, this martyr attitude that Aquarians can have sometimes when it comes to humanitarian issues, when it comes to friendships and being a part of group memberships, that like, we do not stand out. We do not rise above the underdog. We stand with the underdog, and we don't really allow ourselves to be here, right? And so there's this kind of contentious, I want to be here, but I also don't want to forget where I come from, right? I want to bask in the sun, and I want to open my arms and accept it, but I don't want to forget where I come from either. I don't want to forget you know, the pain and suffering, or I don't want to forget the pain and suffering that's occurring in the world. I don't want to forget about, you know, that the groups that I'm a part of need my support, right? And to be honest, nobody really needs you. And I'm not saying that in a sense of like, you're insignificant or but like, you know, letting go of the martyr, the woe is me, you know, if I don't remember this, or if I'm here, then the world will fall apart for, you know, that's not the case. It's not, you know, the reality. And, you know, and this could also represent being a part of a group or being in a work situation, right? These are pentacles representing a work situation where, you know, you feel kind of different than the people that you're around on a day-to-day basis, but keeping yourself locked in to, you know, well, I'm not going to acknowledge it. Like suppressing the sunlight, suppressing the light within you, right? In the name of getting along with or riding on the same level as the people that you have to work with, right? Because these pentacles represent work, right? The workplace too. And so, yeah, being in a work environment that, you know, it's kind of leaving you out in the cold a little bit, and you may be trying to fit in. You may be trying to like really be a part of the group, but like you're an Aquarius. So as much as you've got that 11th house activity of group membership and humanitarianism and not, you know, having inevitably as a result of being a weirdo, because we're kind of weirdos, right? We end up doing this anyway without even trying. Like we end up being in the spotlight just by, you know, just by the fact that we are just kind of different. We walk to the beat of our own drum, right? We do things a little bit differently. And, so yeah, that's definitely what I'm picking up on for here. I'm getting like different stories that are happening here. So I'm going to try and connect it all together. But I'm not getting one large theme. I'm getting, you know, some different kind of stories happening here. So next we have the Three of Wands, right? And so we have the Three of Wands here. And yeah, and I definitely see this energy, this Five of Pentacles energy, leaves us wanting more. Leaves us for this desire of like, well, what else can I do with my time? What else can I do? Like, what else can I, you know, and maybe some of you have prayed about it, right? Like this person in the Three of Wands has sent out messages, has sent out prayers, right? Prayers or messages, right? Just to the spirit world. I forgot I'm wearing makeup and I rub my eyes. I do that a lot. So the Three of Wands representing, you know, this desire to look and see like, well, how can I expand? Like, how am I keeping myself here, right? Like, and I want to be here, right? And the Wands being a fire energy, right? Like, again, we have this yellow background, right? This repetitive kind of, you know, in the background, right? There's this desire to want to get in touch with like this beaming light, this yellow vibrant beaming light, right? Which represents the sun, the spotlight. And again, there's more of it coming. You'll see in a second, but you know, the Three of Wands, like, how can I expand? How can I grow? What is out? What else is there for me out in the world? And just ready for something, ready for something new, ready for something else to come through. And in addition to the Five of Wands, right? Like, this represents to me, yeah, that's okay. So this represents to me that, you know, there are new people, right? Like maybe some of you have just met these new people for you. And the Five of Wands, I often hear as described as a card of conflict, right? Like all these people are battling, but what it also means to me is that you have got people kind of that are willing to go to bat for you, that are willing to battle for you. Like there's people, there is a new circle of friends that you have entered into, and you all feel very strongly about each other, or there's this development of like strong feelings amongst the group, and that, all of you, like, wands represent creativity, right? The wands, they're a metaphor for creative spiritual energy, right? So maybe this group, there's a lot of creativity happening, and there's awesome artwork happening, and you're all hanging out together and dancing together, and like there's all of these really beautiful things happening, between all of you, and and it's like, and it's yeah, there's some new friends. There are some new people in your life that are there, and they're willing to have your back, and they're willing to fight for you, and they're willing to stand up for you, maybe even in situations, right? And they're honest friends, right? Like the Judgment card is also a card of a lot of honesty, and Judgment was right above, right, this Five of Wands. So definitely I see this as entrance into a new social circle. And a social circle that brings in, right, that fifth house energy of like play and creativity and all of this, but there still is this, 11th house, the Saturn in 11th house, right, kind of energy of like, really looking at the truth of who you are, right, looking at the truth of your actions and getting real with yourself, right? And maybe there are other situations where you're like, you know what, this is not a group that I feel like. Not only do I feel like I can't be my Aquarian self, right? I can't be natural, I can't be the odd one out of the group, right? Or I can't be myself. I can't authentically be who I am, right? Because our sun sign also represents who we kind of are. Like your rising is what you project, whereas your sun sign and your moon sign revolve more so around like who you are internally and what your life revolves around, right? Whereas your rising represents the vehicle that you get into to fulfill the mission of your sun sign and your moon sign, right? So the rising sign can be kind of can be very real, but also can sometimes be a mask, right? Depending on what context we're looking at it in. So, right, like I'm not able to be my true sun sign Aquarian self, which is kind of offbeat, kind of unique, not really fitting in with any kind of status quo whatsoever, and like I tend to find myself in situations where, inevitably as a result of ethnicity or race or whatever gender, like as a result of things that are even out of my control, I end up, I'm like, yeah, I'm the oddball in this situation. And that just kind of happens naturally a lot. And so finding yourself in a situation where it's like, yeah, I can't even look up to, what is there. But in this group, right, this being fiery energy, this being right at home with fire signs, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius energy, right? Like this energy, it's almost as if like in the original meaning of the Five of Wands, they're fighting for the front and center, right? Five of Wands is they're fighting for whose idea, is going to be better than the other, who will prevail, right? But I'm reading it more so as that, there's a working together and a coming together of these energies in this. There's creative energy that's definitely being passed from one person to another, and that each person in this group is actually okay with the sun, is okay with being the center of attention, and is okay with everybody else having the opportunity to be the center of attention, right? So that's what I definitely read, for that. And then, we have the Devil card here. And, you know, I really feel pulled to look back at this Two of Cups, you guys. And maybe it's because the imagery, there's two people, a man and a woman here and a man and a woman here, a masculine, feminine here, masculine, feminine there. But nonetheless, I definitely, you know, I feel that there's still some, we're still in bondage. We're still in an attachment to things that might have happened in the past, right? Like, there's still, you know, there's this desire to want to move forward, but there's still this wand here that we know is still standing there, right? Like, if both the wands were standing in front and there was nothing behind us, then it'd be like, yep, all systems go, like, let's move it. But you have this wand here that you know is still standing there, right? So there's still some kind of, right, these people are in bondage to one another. There's still some kind of bondage to, you know, there's still some sort of bondage to, and now I'm shifting back to relation. Sorry, this is kind of going all over the place, but there's still some kind of, you're still feeling some type of way about what might have happened here or what's happening here, right? And that regardless of the light being shined down, or like the judgment card, right? Of the truth being revealed. And, you know, regardless of that, there is still this sense of like, I can't let go. I can't let go. I can't forget. And I wish that things could have turned out differently almost. But, you know, the Devil card for me can also represent obsession, right? It can represent this tendency to ruminate over the same thing, like trying to see the devil in the details. And sometimes it's just like, you know, this is not accounting. This is not cooking the books. Like, this is just like, there's no need to scrutinize that deeply about something if that's what you're doing. You know, obsessing and ruminating over something does not, you know, make it better. I want a clarifier for the Devil card. Can I get a clarification for the Devil card? Can I get a clarification for it? Yes! Sorry, I had to pick that card up off the floor. Five of Cups! It's spilt milk. It's spilt milk. And you've got two cups standing up here, right? We've got some awesome people, right? We've got some awesome people that are around us. And, you know, these Two of Cups, right? It's the same Two of Cups. So whatever you think you've lost, there's two cups right behind you, right? And in this sense, it's like there's a lot of, and this is very odd for Aquarians because Aquarians usually can be very forward thinking and are like, that happened, I'm moving forward. But, you know, I think that there was so much that happened for us last year that we can't help but kind of look back and be like, man, that shit was rough. Like, that was a tough year, and what happened, and what did I do wrong, and it, you know, what did I lose, and you know, and you know what, at this point, y'all, like, the judgment has been served, like, you know, the lessons have been received. There has been a real critical look at the self. The angels, you know, you know, we get to chill out for a little bit, right? And, you know, we have some awesome friends that are coming in. But yeah, it's like there's still this obsession over things that happen. And even if you're not trying to obsess, it's like you still can't forget that wand is there. But yeah, it's like obsessing over spilt milk, in a sense, right? And there are still these two cups here, right? And there very well could be something new that's trying to come in, but but it's like, and you're trying to move forward with this new thing, but there's still this wand here. There's still something nudging you behind you, but all you have to do is just in this sense of the Five of Cups, turn around and see that there are two cups still standing, right? And Capricorn got this card too, right? So, and us sharing a planetary ruler with Capricorn, you know, it's like, it's, you know, Saturn asking us, like, okay, and right, Saturn being in the 11th house, which is the house of friendship, and this being the Three of Cups, right? And the Three of Cups is the card of friendship, right? So asking us to, like, okay, look and observe and be critical and get real about whatever previous issues you had in past friendship circles, but turn around because you got these awesome friends here. You have a new love opportunity here, right, with the Two of Cups standing, and just let it go, move on, you know, find a way to cut free from the devil energy, and to step into this light, right? And then at the end of the reading, we have the Four of Swords, which I definitely see it as a reprieve or break from this energy. I see a break happening. I see some relief being gathered, right? And us being an air sign, very comfortable with the swords, very comfortable with the intellect and being in the mind. And that we actually get a break from the rumination. We get a break from, you know, we get a break from whatever these energies might represent for us. And in that break, you know, comes a new beginning, right? And like I said before, right, we have all these yellows. We've got these yellows. And even in the Five of Pentacles, we have this grayness. And in the midst of all this gray gloominess, we have these bright yellows right there, right? So, you know, I see a new beginning with the Fool where, and again, with the sun shining down its light on us. And the Fool walks to the beat of his own drum. He doesn't really care what anybody thinks, says, or believes about him. He is walking on his own path. He doesn't have much, right? He doesn't travel with much. And he has absolute faith and belief in his abilities to do the things and to accomplish his journey. So with the Fool card being at the end of the reading, I definitely see this as a move towards and being very comfortable and recognizing, in essence, the Leo within us, right? Like, in essence, recognizing that we are on the other side of that same coin, right? Like, Leo is not that far from us. And the acceptance of, like, yeah, you know what? Like, I have these beautiful friends. I'm part of these organizations and these groups and these memberships, right? But I don't have to dim my light to be a part of these groups and these organizations. I can find friendships and organizations and relationships that allow me to be, like, look what he's wearing, right? Like, I could totally picture an Aquarius wearing that today, like on the street, right? We have very different ways of dressing. We have very different ways of expressing ourselves, and, you know, finding those groups of people that will allow you to be in that energy, and not kind of hold you to here, or don't hold yourself here. So I see really beautiful things happening, and I'm going to pull out a outcome card. Outcome for Aquarius for July 2017. Outcome for Aquarius for July 2017. Outcome for Aquarius in July. King of Cups. You know, this could definitely represent a person coming in, a water sign, a Cancer, Scorpio, or a Pisces, right, coming in. And, you know, potentially, right, like, in attachment with these Two of Cups, maybe being a potential love interest, being a partner who, as an Aquarius, I think it's important that, you know, having a partner who is self-sufficient, but is also still very loving and is willing to emotionally connect. And who is willing to go there, because I know for me personally as an Aquarius, once I'm there, like, once I'm like, yeah, like, once I'm here, I'm there, you know, and I really do want to hand that cup over, you know, and it's not easy for me. So I definitely see this as a potentially new partner coming in. And also, you know, emotional maturity, right? If you're not looking for a partner, if you're not, or if that's not really something that, if you're in a relationship, or that's not really where your head is at right now, definitely seeing this as emotional maturity, like recognition of your own power, and of your own, like the whatever wounds were created from this becoming this, right? I see the recognition of the necessity of those wounds, right? To recognize some things about yourself and the ownership of those things in a way that's emotionally mature and emotionally controlled, and in a way that's like, yeah, you know, like I may have had these issues in this relationship, or this relationship forced me to see some parts about myself that I didn't want to recognize, maybe some addiction issues, some obsessive issues, but I hold those, like I can hold those issues and stand proud and tall and not allow them to emotionally control me anymore, right? And again, like I said, it can also represent a new person coming in. So, and it doesn't have to be just a water sign. It could be somebody who is in touch with their who's emotionally available, right? Like, if you want somebody who's emotionally available, then be emotionally available yourself, right? It's as simple. It's not as simple as that, but you know, that's one of the answers, right? Is how can I acquire the characteristics of the partner that I kind of dream of, right? That I seek. So that's your reading for July 2017. And if you would like a personal reading with me, you can email me at tattoosandtarot@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, which is tattoosandtarot.com, and I will leave that in the description box below. And I hope you enjoyed your reading, and I will see you in August. All right, bye, Aquarians.